Hello and welcome to We the People. Following a long gap due to the novel coronavirus pandemic, schools are beginning to reopen across India. In most states, students in class 10 and 12 are getting back first due to examinations, followed gradually by others. After a gap of 11 months, schools in West Bengal to Hyderabad have reopened. Authorities say it's with a strict adherence to COVID protocols. Attendance will not be compulsory. Online classes will continue. So, parents have big decisions to make this week. Tough decisions. Whether to send their child to school or not. And if not now, then when? What about those who live in joint families with aged grandparents at home? Parents are facing a dilemma. And tonight on the show, we're going to try and help you evaluate the pros and cons, or at least try and help you make an informed decision. And tonight, before we get to our panel, let's start with our audience. We have parents, students, teachers, all of them on We the People tonight. Let's hear your views. Let's hear your fears. First, we have Elumalai, a parent of a school-going kid. Go ahead, unmute yourself. Ms. Elumalai? All right, do we have R. Radhika? Radhika, you're a professor and a parent. Evening.
Yes.
Which means you are at risk both ways. Go ahead, Radhika.
Good evening all. This is Radhika, mother of school and college going kids. And I'm for reopening the schools. My concern is, what about the social and emotional growth of the children being at home all the time? How do we address this issue if you are going to prolong the shutdown and if you are scared of reopening the schools and colleges? Are we going to be skeptical all the time? If at all another virus comes, will we be sitting at home all the time? Shouldn't we teach the children of the discipline to be maintained and the standard protocols to be followed in the schools and colleges? How do we address this issue?
All right. Do we have Elumalai?
Reopen.
School should reopen. Okay, says Radhika, a professor and parent. Pooja is a student.
This is Elumalai, politician.
Go ahead, Ms. Elumalai. You're also a parent. You're on the show today as a parent.
Yes, absolutely. My question is, how we can expect small children will maintain safety measures in classes and school campuses?
Fair enough. I can barely get my child to do anything I ask her to. Pooja, a student, go ahead.
My question is, opening of schools and colleges will not only put students at risk, but also their family, the staff and everyone connected to this chain. Is this necessary?
All right. Fair enough. Priya, also another student. Go ahead.
Hello everyone. My question is that the major point of this difference in this whole debate is that who will take the onus if schools open and students get infected? The school administration, the government, or should we think that no one would be accountable? So accountability is the main question. Who will take onus?
All right, so there's a diverse set of opinions here, strong views on both sides of the debate. It's an emotional issue here, obviously. Let's get in Mr. C.S. Manoharan. He's the president of the CBSE Schools Management Association in Tamil Nadu. Mr. Manoharan, I'm hearing a major concern here, right? Who will take responsibility if children start falling sick or transmit the virus to family members? Are schools able to ensure a safe environment if they're open right now, or are we rushing into things?
Yes, Radhika. See, the current scenario is like almost all the segment is open today.
Pools are
open.
Look at
theatres, malls, shops, public places, temples, all are completely on. And the education sector, especially the schooling sector, is the most recurred sector, which is being debated as a very big threat. The educational institutions are basically a very organized setup. And today we are talking about opening schools, especially from grade 9 to grade 12 as a first step. If you look at in the situation of Tamil Nadu, Jan 19, we all been advised to open grade 10 and 12 as being, the students are going to appear for board examinations. And it's very crucial. Almost 10 months have gone and the exams are supposed to be conducted in the month of March. and April. And this
Mr.
time, the
Manoharan,
government
nobody
CBSE
is
have
debating
announced
the
for-
requirement, the need to get our children back in classes and to educate them. Are schools equipped to keep them safe while we do so?
Exactly.
How can you
so
ensure?
Considering that priority, the SOPs are very well defined by the government, and schools, we have a very organized team, volunteers being set in outside the campus and inside the campus, the students being routed very well to the respective classes. The classes being given 16 square feet per child. And the occupancy level is hardly about 30 to 40% today, even if you look at grade 9 to 12, as per the percentile of the students in a whole school.
Sure.
We have a testing parameter. We have in-house clinic. The temperature monitoring is done. The sanitization is completely done. The toiletry areas and the floor areas and the walk-in areas been completely sanitized and well washed with the entire volunteering setup. So we are absolutely maintaining. For the last 20 days, the schools are functioning in the state of Tamil Nadu, and we don't witness any kind of a threat, any kind of a
All right. So confidence
negativity
building measures are in place. Thank you, Mr. Manoharan. We also have the principal of the modern school, Barakamba Road in the national capital, Dr. Datta, joining us. You're the principal. As a principal of a school, Dr. Datta, you're responsible not just for the children, but also for the health of your teachers who are more susceptible as youngsters. Let's take a look at number of cases right now in India. I think that's crucial, right, to decide what one should do, what policy one should follow. Take a look at the new cases per 100,000 population, which is a lakh. In the last 14 days, India has reported 11 cases per lakh population, right? Now, these are government reported figures. So, assuming they are accurate, which of course they don't take into account or into consideration those who haven't got it themselves tested, those who are asymptomatic, this sounds pretty good, right? But let's compare this to the US Center for Disease Control and Prevention's roadmap to reopening schools in the US. Take a look at the chart. It's on your screen. As you can see, India falls in the low to moderate risk of transmission category in schools. That's the light green column actually on your screen. So there is a low to moderate risk of transmission if schools reopen. Dr. Datta, a low to moderate risk. With that in mind, is it time to reopen schools or not, and why?
Well, I firmly believe it's a pity that those who are at the minimum risk, these youngsters, have been penalized the most. They have been kept away. I was just walking up, and from the nearby hotel, the music was so loud everywhere. Things are almost normal outside when you go. Why bar these students? And when I speak this, I speak the mind of my teachers and the students. They are all raring to come back to the school. The isolation has impacted adversely the emotional and psychological well-being. Uncertainty, being away from their peer group, isolation has definitely got the psychological health issues of the students. So with this in mind, I'm very clear that we must, in a staggered way, open the schools. 9th to 12th is already open, and it is going on very successfully. And looking at this, students need outdoor activities, sports must be permitted. They must come out to the fields, they must play, and that is what is going to keep them healthy. I really don't know why should they not be allowed to come out.
So you're pointing out if we have the infrastructure to reopen schools, bars, theatres, clearly education is low on the priority, but how will you keep your teachers safe, Dr. Datta? Because yes, children are less at risk. They may be asymptomatic. They may have, very few symptoms. What about teachers?
Right. Yes. Through sanitization of the premises, the entire campus has been sanitized. Host of protocols to create a safe environment have been taken into consideration. Nobody who's showing symptoms of corona is allowed to come into the campus. No mask, no entry policy is there. We have mandatory thermal screening at the school gates. We have compulsory hand sanitization before entering classrooms. Social distancing.
So all the standard operating procedures you're saying are in place.
All are there. Everything is in place. So with everything in place, I'm sure the teachers are as safe as the students are.
All right. Dr. Datta, thank you for your time. We also have Dr. Randeep Guleria. He's the director of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. Dr. Guleria, parents are facing a huge dilemma. What would you advise them?
It's a tough dilemma because you're looking at two broad things. One is the risk of the child getting infection. The second is, like you rightly said, there's been a big loss as far as education is concerned. And I'm not saying that the education through online was bad, but that's not how school should be. It's not only the online training that is important for children. It's also important to have a social interaction, character building, meeting friends. And that is also part of childhood, which for 1 year, a lot of children have lost. As a matter of fact, I remember one parent telling me that their child now thinks that the school is only staring at the TV screen, at the computer screen. And that's all school is all about. And this is a child in the KG or first class. So children at that age have sort of lost or have a different concept of what school is all about. So it's a balance that we have to do. It seems that currently our cases are really down and the infection rate is low. And therefore one has to try and see what is the risk benefit analysis and look at that. It seems that the risk is low, but I would really have one caution that we need to do this with very close surveillance. If you are going to open schools, we must have a very good close surveillance for any child who has flu-like symptoms. A protocol should be placed in place so that any child who has symptoms like that should not come to school. There should be some degree of availability of testing if that is required. We could do the rapid antigen test if it is needed. So if we develop a SOP, I think at some point in time we will have to open schools.
All right, and Doctor, we must make it clear that, you know, it's not just in India, right? The US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Friday issued their guidelines urging schools to reopen. They've issued several guidelines, standard operating procedures, but they've touched very little on the subject of ventilation. Isn't this the virus's main transmission route? And in the end, I mean, students study in classrooms, right? Four walls, they're closed in.
Ventilation is very important, and like I had said, we need to develop an SOP which is more Indian based. How do we do it in our setup considering our constraints and the things that we can do? But ventilation is very important, and as we move into schools opening, there has to be good cross ventilation. There is a lot of data which suggests that if you have aerosol generation and the ventilation is not good enough, the chance of infection are much higher. And therefore, good cross ventilation should be actually also something the schools need to look at. Sometimes I feel that having a class under a tree is probably the best thing, because that is the best way to really protect oneself from the infection.
But of course, we've indiscriminately keep cutting our trees in the name of development. But so there's a lot to think about, a lot for parents to think about from what Dr. Guleria has just shared and advised us. Let's bring in more audience members. Ranjani Krishnamurthy is a parent from Mumbai. Ranjani, what are your thoughts on this matter?
10 and 7, and the past year had been like really, big roller coaster ride for us. We enjoyed a bit of online learning, but at the same time, beyond a point, the kids and I were like, no, not done. So we want to go back to school. We're really desperate for the schools to open. But having said that, as a parent right now, I would not be sending my kids to school until and unless the vaccination drive is complete. Because see, the kids are very small, so we don't even know what's happening at the school. So we trust the school's protocols, all of that is there. But how far have they been, followed? How much are the kids following? We don't know. And to send the kids to school and to stay at home and live with that anxiety, did my kid wash his or her hand? Did he touch others' mask? No, the kids are very playful. They even exchange each other's masks. Like, we don't know how much surveillance is there. So, it's very difficult to live with so much of apprehensiveness and anxiety. So until the vaccination drive is complete, I am still not okay for smaller kids to go to school.
All right. So even though you're COVID fatigued, you would rather not live that. You prefer that than living with the anxiety of worrying whether your child is being protected. Okay. Naman, a student, joins us. Naman, unmute yourself.
Yeah, actually my question is, why can't we continue online mode of education, as it would be really convenient for students because they do not want to leave their hometown?
Convenient for students. Is it convenient for all students? But let's get in Dr. Shaini Matthew first. She's the principal of the Jawahar Central School in Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala. Kerala is one of the 4 states still reporting a high number of positive cases. Dr. Matthew, why the rush? I mean, the academic year is almost over, right? Is it a rush? And is that because schools need to reopen. Management need to pay salaries, etc. Dr. Manohan talks about how schools need to open.
Yes, good evening. All said and done. But I feel that this is not the right time to open the schools, because the children are precious treasure, and we cannot just bring them to the school right now. Even if everything, even the sanitation and everything is right, if we take care of all according to the protocol of COVID, but we cannot right now, especially during the month of April, as said, that let's start at April, not for small children. Of course, I don't trust that we should open, especially during the summer season here in Trivandrum, and of course in the south it's very hot, and especially during this time, summer season, we should not be opening right now for this, especially for the KG to at least till 8th standard. 9th standard onwards, well, they're going on with the online classes. And I think that they can carry on with online classes, as well as the offline classes are also there. The children are coming to school not as big number, as small number. And we are taking care of them. We are giving them like extra remedial classes. All that is going on. Exams are going on. Test papers are going on. All that we are doing it. But for small children, especially below 10 or even 8th standard downwards, I don't think right
it's not
now,
essential. But what about the issue of salaries for teachers? Because that's also an important aspect that our policymakers have to keep in mind, right?
Yeah, that is there. But we are going through a tough time. Some are half paid, some are 20% less. All that is going on, as of course, and the management is facing trouble because they need to pay the teachers, the staff, and they need to get the fees from the students. And if they open it right now, like April, month of April, May, naturally the fees would come. Or that, in that part, if you look on, it's good. But at the same time, the risk factor, this COVID, our children, we can't play with the life of our children. So till the vaccine is done, it's through. I think we just need to wait for some more time, because we have waited
hold out and wait it out.
Yeah, we have waited so long, so why not for a few more months? Just that's what.
All right, so teachers will get paid full salaries if they return to class, but then teachers will also be more at risk if students tend to have mild symptoms. Anubha Srivastava Sahai is the president of the India-wide Parents Association. Anubha, teachers need to be paid. Parents associations, though, probably say that fees should have been cut this year. Where do you stand on this? So should schools reopen now? The year's almost over.
See, as far as schools are concerned, I don't think there is a need to rush, because now academic year is almost complete. So, and as far as the teacher salary is concerned, I think most of the infrastructure has not been utilized properly. So the educational trust and school management, they are having a lot of funds. Even in Maharashtra, after the government conducted audit, they found that the schools are having huge surplus in crores, 7 to 8 to 10 crores. So where this money is going? Why they are not paying salary to teachers? So our concern is that we are willing to pay. Parents are ready to pay, but they will not pay for the infrastructure which is not being utilized. So this malpractice should stop by the school management, and they should not harass teacher as well as parents and pay the full salary. Let them come up and share their audit report and publish their balance sheet on their website. Why this is not happening? Why schools are not sharing their balance sheet?
All right.
So as far as the reopening of school is concerned, my basic concern is that right now it is not the right time to open the school. Many college students also are complaining that they are having many COVID symptoms. And without having a COVID test, how can you allow a child and also a teacher to enter a school premises? So whether schools are going to take responsibility? No, they are not taking. Whether government is taking responsibility? No, they are not taking. So who is going to take responsibility if anything happens to anyone?
Parent has to decide, will you send your child to school given the circumstances? All right. We have Mrs. Srilata. She's the principal of a school in a remote district of Tamil Nadu. Mrs. Srilata, we're glad to have you. I want you to please respond to Naman's question. I think that's a critical question. He says that online learning is convenient for most students. What has been your experience with digital learning in a rural school, in a rural area where you are?
Actually, starting the online classes was easy for us, ma'am. But students who are financially, we have financially background session also. And also, they are not able to grapple with the access of connectivity. Connectivity issues are there to them. So that's the problem we are facing. Out of we are having only 20% of attendance, ma'am, in the Google Classrooms, like online classes. So when we approached personally, we got information that they are eager to send to school because they are not able to have the online classes in a successful way, and they're not able to manage the children. All the parents are willing to send the students to school.
No, I want to understand this, ma'am. You are saying, why is there 20% attendance for all children? Is that because they could not access the education digitally? They don't have access to laptops and computers. Is that what you're saying?
Financially background, ma'am. Financial, economically weak. They are not economically strong. They are having a mobile, but they have 2-3 children. No? So who is in the higher class can they are accessing the mobile, whereas one child only can use the mobile.
Now imagine that parent's dilemma. That parent has to choose. They have to pick and choose amongst their children to say which one will get an education and which one won't. What has the fallout of this been, ma'am Srilata?
That's what, ma'am. They are not able to access with the online classes.
No, are you? What have you noticed? I mean, are boys being preferred over girls? Are students dropping out? Are they taking transfer certificates? Because I'm sure they have to pay the fees if they want to attend classes, even if it's 20%.
Yes,
you still have.
Some are moving to government schools, ma'am, where they are not. Some only like 5%, but others are in eagerly waiting when the school will be opening. Like so, that's what they are asking. And anyhow, the attendance is there, but in a house we have 3 children, means all 3 are using, but they're not able to have all the classes. One period a child attends, the other child will attend. So they're using one mobile for 3 students, 3 children of the same family, as they are financially weak.
All right, so some youth have lost a year of schooling. Some of us worry about socializing for our kids, but other parents just worry that the kids will simply drop out and may never return. That is unacceptable. All the gains we've made over the past few decades when it comes to education, now suddenly we see our children falling behind. Mothers also are being forced out of the workforce. Let me bring in our mom who said that, Ranjani Krishnamurthy, right? Ranjani, are you a working mom? What about, do you empathize with moms? Like you say you're completely COVID fatigued, but you can't live with the anxiety of knowing whether your children are sanitized and safe. What about working moms who need to get their children back to school because they need to also work?
Absolutely. So I was working until March and then I did not choose to pursue. It was a 2-year fellowship that I was doing, and I did not choose to pursue because I was sure that I will not be able to balance, with everybody at home. There is going to be, even if you're living in a city like Mumbai, internet and sharing laptops and, you doing your work, attending your calls. And I was teaching for the past 2 years in a low-income private school. So I could, as a teacher also, I could see like how ma'am spoke, like many students did not have connectivity issues at all. So it is very difficult, and I agree that for working moms it's going to be difficult, and they would be eagerly waiting. But again, as I repeat, we are getting a fatigue being at home. The entire day you see the same faces again and again. The children have no social emotional learning at all. They are just stuck with elders at home. I totally agree to that. But again, like, what is the risk? Like, if you're going to send them, what is the risk? Like, end of the day,
well, this is the reality. This is the horrific fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic, which will be felt for years to come. Gains made when it comes to women's employment, women working, women being in the workforce, that's also being affected. So it's a very hard decision. Not just for parents, it's also for the management, for the government, everybody evaluating whether schools should reopen, and it's a multi-layered decision with many repercussions. Different sectors of our society will be affected either way on both sides of this discussion. But thank you for joining us tonight, and we hope we've in some way helped you try and understand the magnitude of this issue better, and help you in some way, maybe make a decision when you have to about whether you should send your child to school or not. But thank you for joining us on We the People, where we believe it's important to speak up, but it's also important to listen. Thank you. Bye-bye.